Mr. Chancellor, I have the honor of presenting to you one of the world's most respected judicial leaders, a towering symbol of the rule of law in Canada, and a kind, humble, and compassionate human being, the Right Honourable Chief Justice Beverley McLachlin. La très honorable Beverley Chief Justice, I think I'm allowed to go off script to say how pleased we are that you're here, and I think the demonstration you've just had is eloquent in this respect. La très honorable Beverley McLachlin est juge en chef de la Cour suprême du Canada depuis maintenant 16 ans. Première femme à occuper ce poste, la juge en chef McLachlin est aussi celle qui a exercé cette fonction le plus longtemps dans toute l'histoire du Canada. Figurant parmi les juges les plus expérimentés de l'histoire de la Cour suprême, elle est l'auteur de plus de 400 jugements majoritaires, dont certains des plus importants et des plus percutants jamais rendus par la Cour, touchant la pornographie juvénile, la lutte contre le terrorisme, la criminalisation de la prostitution et l'imposition de peines minimales obligatoires concernant la possession d'armes à feu. Sous sa direction, la Cour suprême du Canada est devenue l'un des tribunaux de dernière instance les plus respectés au monde. Championne de l'égalité, de la diversité et du respect des droits de la personne au Canada, la juge en chef McLachlin est aussi une ardente défenseur de la réconciliation avec les Premières Nations. Chief Justice McLachlin is a very private, intensely modest person, but despite her best efforts, bits and pieces of her life story have now entered in the public domain. How she grew up on a ranch in the foothills of Alberta, 40 kilometers from the nearest town, devouring books from the nearest community library. How she was told after taking an aptitude test in school at age 8 that her excellent reading skills would not be very useful to her. And also that her lack of attention to detail meant that she would never make it as a waitress or telephone operator. How she got into law school almost by accident and graduated with top honors. How she was appointed to the Vancouver County Court at the young age of 37, lost her first husband to cancer, raised her child as a single mother, rose through the ranks of the judiciary in British Columbia to finally reach the Supreme Court of Canada, all in a matter of 8 short years. Hers is a most Canadian, but still absolutely extraordinary story. In a recent profile of the Chief Justice published by the Walrus magazine, her husband, Frank McArdle, captured her spirit in a short sentence. She has a very, very warm heart, he said, and a very, very strong head. Chief Justice is a graceful, refined, and understated leader. Her tenure as Chief Justice has been marked by increased consensus at the court, across Canada, and lots of public outreach. She's acutely aware of the public significance of her role. She's conscious of the momentous nature of the issues that the court must address and resolve: life, death, freedom, democracy. She knows that continued public confidence in her court and in the judicial system at large is an essential component of our political life. And yet, she remains calm, composed, and focused on the task at hand, as she describes it, to carefully render judgment, one case at a time, studiously searching for the best answer that law and justice dictate. Mr. Chancellor, for the wisdom, insight, and leadership that she's brought to the law, and for the integrity, energy, and humanistic spirit that she's brought to her role as Chief Justice of Canada, I respectfully present to you the Right Honourable Beverley McLachlin, so that you may confer upon her the degree of Doctor of Law, honoris causa.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and pleasure to invite Chief Justice Beverley McLachlin to deliver the convocation address. Chief Justice.
Thank you. Merci. Mr. Chancellor, Madam Principal, Dean Jutra, and thank you for those overgenerous remarks. Fellow graduates, ladies and gentlemen, I am enormously moved and deeply grateful for the honor that this university bestows on me today. Today, I am acutely aware that I am privileged to join in an old and august Canadian community, the community of scholars, teachers, researchers, and alumni that comprise McGill University. Cette université se situe au sommet de l'excellence académique et intellectuelle au Canada, mais aussi à l'échelle internationale. Je suis extrêmement fière de compter parmi ces accomplissements et de m'associer à l'avenir qu'elle laisse présager. I am told I have only 7 minutes, so I'll skip the usual bromides about how you are to survive the slings and arrows that life will inevitably send your way, and instead offer a few reflections on the discipline and practice of law. But before I do that, I have to say one personal thing. As you, the graduates, move on to the next stage of your life, remember all those who have helped you get where you are: your parents, your teachers, your friends, your mentors, your partners. Right now, you're probably feeling like a jockey who has just won the Kentucky Derby. The cameras flash as you proudly accept the cup. But remember, you are just the jockey. Beside you stands a sweating horse who brought you over the finish line. You held the reins, you did some of the work, maybe you made a few critical decisions in the race called higher education, but it is they who supported you and brought you through. I know personally that I would never have made it to law school, much less through it and on to become a lawyer and a judge, but for the people behind me and beside me. And I know the same is true for you. Si vous ne deviez faire que cela aujourd'hui, prenez le temps de remercier ceux et celles qui vous ont soutenu et encouragé durant votre parcours. More than 5 decades ago, I entered the great tent of the law. I did not know what I would find inside that tent. A few vague notions were all I possessed. The law had something to do with power, a lot to do with rules, and everything, if I listened to the local press, to do with convicting bad people and sending them to prison for a long time. 51 years later, after half a century studying, practicing, and applying the law, I still find it difficult to define precisely what the law is. I agree, however, with Marty Koskinemi, who stood at this podium last year as your honoree, that the law, like the equally ancient disciplines of medicine and theology, is both a craft and a practice of intellectual reflection. The two are inseparable. The craft inspires intellectual reflection, and intellectual reflection in turn inspires the craft. It's not a case of either or. The best legal practitioners understand the need for intellectual reflection on the law, and the best academics ground themselves in the reality of how the law, as practiced, affects people's lives. Wherever life takes you, never lose sight of the mutual independence of the law as craft and the law as intellectual reflection. The craft of law is important. It's the collective bundle of knowledge and skills that you've been acquiring at law school and to which you'll add throughout your career. The craft allows you to accomplish things that other people can't. Without the craft, you can't be a good practitioner or a teacher or researcher or advisor. Without the craft, you cannot accomplish what you want to accomplish for yourself, your clients, and society. But the practice of intellectual reflection on the law is equally important. Intellectual reflection develops the vision to know how and when to apply the knowledge and skills you've acquired. In a word, how to use your craft. Without the practice of intellectual reflection, you will spend your days mechanically going through rote operations with little understanding of the greater meaning of your work. Craft is essential, but without intellectual reflection on it, you will never be a truly great lawyer or professor or whatever you aspire to be. So don't just do the law, think about the law and how you use the craft you've acquired to help your clients and more broadly society. Engage in the practice of intellectual reflection. Read what press and academics are saying about this or that aspect of the law. Read the cases, difficult as it may be. Study trends. Ponder values and ask whether this statute or this decision is faithful to the values you cherish. Think about the law. Talk about it. Make reflection on the law part of everything you do. The result will make you more effective as a lawyer and as a contributing member of society. Mais il y a de plus. There's more. The practice of intellectual reflection will, if you're lucky, provide a vision for your labors. It will imbue everything you do with purpose. Your career and your life will not only be lived, they will be lived with meaning. You will not just be doing a job, you will be doing the job you want to do. Just as, to paraphrase Socrates, the unexamined life is not worth living, so the unexamined profession is not worth practicing. J'étais chanceuse. I have been fortunate to have had the union of vocation and avocation thrust upon me. Much of my work as a judge is concerned with the craft of the law, reading cases to find out what the law says or what direction it points, making decisions on the basis of the law, and crafting, there's that word again, reasons for judgment. But my work as a judge also of necessity involves the practice of intellectual reflection. Reflection on where the law should go in order to uphold our common values and maximize human flourishing and societal order. Craft is important. Understanding the law and the context of the problem at hand, writing reasons that set out the jurisprudence clearly, tell the parties why they won or lost. One cannot be a good judge without the skill to do these things. But the hardest part of the work of judging, in my experience, is the intellectual reflection piece. By definition, the cases that come before the Supreme Court of Canada raise difficult legal and social issues, issues that divided courts below and often divide society. These issues can only be responsibly resolved through humble and deep intellectual reflection. As I near the end of my time as a judge, and yes, inevitably as my 75th birthday, the end will come before long, I feel immensely privileged. I started off as a young lawyer with no greater aspiration than to learn the craft of the law, to acquire the bundle of knowledge and skills that would allow me to do a job and earn a decent living. For me, that was what the tent of the law offered. But as I went along, the practice of intellectual reflection on the law assumed growing importance. I came to realize Dr. Koskineni's truth, that the law fully realized is a discipline that is both craft and a practice of intellectual reflection. It is only when we unite craft and reflection that we are able to achieve the highest purpose of the discipline of law, the betterment of human society, and the maximization of human happiness. That is my wish and my vision for you. A final bonus, the icing on life's cake, is this. If you pursue both aspects of the law, the craft and reflection, the law will become not only your vocation, but your avocation. Robert Frost reflected on this in his poem, Two Tramps in Mud Time. It's April. It's a beautiful day when there's still snow on the ground, but the sun is strong and bright. And the poet, emerging from a winter of inactivity, is eager to tackle his woodpile. But two tramps come by in need of $1, and he gives them work instead. The incident provokes the poet to reflect on the work one does to live, one's vocation, and the work one does for joy, or because it gives purpose and pleasure to existence, one's avocation. The poet concludes that in the ideal life, the two must unite. He writes, "But yield who will to their separation. My object in life is to unite my avocation and my vocation, as my two eyes make one in sight." I close as I begin with thanks. Je vous remercie de l'honneur que vous m'avez accordé aujourd'hui en me permettant de participer à votre cérémonie de promotion. Je suis ravie de célébrer avec vous l'achèvement de cette étape de vos études et le passage vers des fonctions nouvelles et des défis nouveaux. Et merci de me donner l'occasion de m'exprimer sur ma conception du droit, car pour moi, le droit est à la fois un art et un exercice de réflexion intellectuelle. To each of you, I offer this wish. May you enjoy happiness and success, and may you find a place where your vision and your work, your avocation and your vocation truly make one in sight. Merci beaucoup. Thank you.